It's a death sentence. Those are not my words. Those are the words of a United States congressman describing a new piece of legislation aimed at one of America's most successful and celebrated environmental laws. For over 50 years, this law has stood as a guardian for the gentle giants and playful spirits of the ocean, from the colossal blue whale to the curious harbor seal. It was a promise we made to them, a promise to end centuries of slaughter and begin an era of protection. But now, that promise is on the verge of being broken. Today, we delve into the story of the Marine Mammal Protection Act. We'll uncover who is trying to dismantle this landmark legislation and why they're using its very success as a weapon against it. We will expose the dangerous myth that our oceans have recovered and reveal the shocking truth about beloved species whose numbers are plummeting right now, signaling a crisis that goes far beyond the ocean depths and points directly back to us. This isn't just a story about saving the whales, it's about understanding a warning that we can no longer afford to ignore. Welcome to Ocean Depths Unveiled. Imagine diving into the lush, swaying kelp forests of Monterey Bay. Sunlight filters down through the canopy, and a tubby, 200-pound harbor seal playfully follows a diver, nibbling on his flippers. It's a moment of pure interspecies curiosity. Under the Marine Mammal Protection Act, a human coming within 50 yards of that seal could be considered harassment, but the seal is free to harass the diver. It's a small, almost comical imbalance that reflects a profound generational shift in our thinking. It's a tiny bit of payback for centuries of brutal whaling and seal hunting. This shift solidified in the late 1960s and early 1970s, a time of great awakening for the environmental movement. In 1969, a massive oil spill coated the beautiful Santa Barbara coastline in black sludge, and the Cuyahoga River in Cleveland literally caught fire, so polluted it was flammable. These twin disasters sparked the first Earth Day in 1970 and led to the shutdown of America's very last whaling station in 1971. Suddenly, protecting the planet wasn't a fringe protest issue, it became a core societal ethic. And in a stunning display of bipartisanship that seems almost unthinkable today, a Democratic Congress wrote and a Republican President, Richard Nixon, signed into law the bedrock of American environmental protection. This wasn't a partisan battle, it was a national consensus. Americans saw the damage with their own eyes, smelled it in the air, and felt it in their water. The call to action transcended party lines, uniting people under a shared goal to heal the world around them. This era gave us the National Environmental Policy Act of 1969, the Clean Air Act of 1970, the Clean Water Act of 1972, and the groundbreaking Marine Mammal Protection Act of 1972. This act was special. It went even further than the famous Endangered Species Act, protecting all marine mammals, not just the threatened ones, from being harassed, killed, or captured. The results were, in many ways, spectacular. Since its passage, not a single marine mammal species has gone extinct in U.S. waters. Some populations rebounded in ways that can only be described as miraculous. Northern elephant seals, which congregated on California beaches, grew from a population of just 10,000 in 1972 to about 125,000 today. Gray whales off the West Coast, once hunted to the brink, swelled from an estimated 11,000 to a peak population of 27,000 by 2016. The oceans, it seemed, were healing. And it is this very success that is now being used as the justification for the law's destruction. The arguments put forth by the Trump administration, its congressional allies, and corporate opponents in the oil and gas industry is disingenuously simple. The legislation worked so well that it's time to loosen the rules. They claim we need a better balance between nature and human enterprise. But this premise is dangerously, catastrophically wrong. On July 22nd, at a House Natural Resources Subcommittee meeting, this argument took the form of draft legislation. Republican Representative Nick Begich of Alaska introduced a proposal to systematically scale back the Marine Mammal Protection Act. His bill would severely limit the government's ability to act against what is chillingly called incidental take. This isn't a minor tweak.
Incidental take is the polite term for the unintentional, but often predictable, killing of whales, dolphins, and seals.
It's death by 1,000 cuts, hidden from public view in the vastness of the ocean. Let's break down what this really means. First, there are the sonic blasts from oil and gas exploration. Imagine an explosion going off in your home every 10 seconds for weeks or months on end. That is what seismic air guns do. The sound is so powerful it can travel for thousands of miles through the water, disrupting communication, navigation, and feeding for countless animals.
For whales and dolphins, who see the world through sound, it can cause hemorrhaging in their brains and lungs, leading to mass strandings and death. Representative Begic's proposal would make it harder for the government to regulate this acoustic onslaught in the name of energy development. Second are ship and boat strikes. A massive container ship, hundreds of thousands of tons of steel moving at 20 knots, is a silent killer. A whale resting near the surface has no chance. The collisions are brutal, often leaving animals with horrific injuries like broken spines or severed flukes, doomed to a slow and painful death. This is a leading cause of death for the North Atlantic right whale, one of the most endangered animals on Earth. Third is bycatch from fishing gear. This is perhaps the most insidious threat. Whales become entangled in the thick ropes of lobster and crab traps or ensnared in vast gill nets. The lines wrap around their mouths, fins, and tails. The more they struggle, the tighter the ropes become, cutting deep into their blubber and bone. They can drag this gear for months, unable to feed properly, slowly starving and succumbing to infection and exhaustion. It's an agonizing way to die. Representative Begic complained that these vital protections interfere with essential projects. It was this proposal that prompted Democratic Representative Jared Huffman to declare it a death sentence for marine mammals. So let's peel back the layers of this false narrative that our oceans are teeming with healthy, recovered populations. Let's look at the species that aren't thriving. Let's start with the North Atlantic right whale. They got their name because, for whalers, they were the right whale to kill. Their bodies were so full of blubber that they floated after being harpooned, making them easy to collect. By 1972, only an estimated 350 of these magnificent creatures were left. Today, after more than half a century of federal legal protection, the population is estimated to be around 370. That's a gain of just 20 individuals in 50 years. They are still critically endangered, living on a knife's edge. The constant stress from ship traffic and underwater noise pollution fills their bodies with stress hormones, impairing their ability to reproduce. Their calves are born into a treacherous obstacle course of shipping lanes and fishing gear. Then travel down to Florida, home to the gentle manatee. Their population recovery from about 1,000 in 1979 was once hailed as a major success, so much so that they were moved off the endangered species list in 2017. But this was a premature celebration. Since the beginning of this year alone, nearly 500 manatees have died. The cause is not just boat strikes, it's starvation. Widespread algal blooms, fueled by nutrient pollution from agriculture and development, are killing off the seagrass beds that are the manatees' primary food source. They are literally starving to death in a polluted paradise. Scientists are now desperately calling for them to be relisted. Their only saving grace is that they are still covered by the wider protections of the Marine Mammal Protection Act. The legacy of our industrial mistakes also casts a long shadow. A 2022 study in the Gulf of Mexico found that in the areas poisoned by the BP Deepwater Horizon oil spill 12 years earlier, the local dolphin population had declined by a staggering 45%. Their immune systems are compromised, their reproductive rates have collapsed, and they are still suffering from the toxic fallout of a single disaster. Researchers estimate it could take another 35 years for them to recover, if they ever do. But perhaps the most terrifying story, the one that truly exposes the lie, is the story of the gray whale. This was the poster child for the act's success. The population that grew from 11,000 to 27,000. But that was their peak. In the last decade, their numbers have crashed by more than half, plummeting to fewer than 13,000 today.
A success story has become a horrifying cautionary tale. These animals undertake one of the longest migrations of any mammal on Earth, traveling thousands of miles from the warm birthing lagoons of Mexico to their summer feeding grounds in the Arctic. But those feeding grounds are changing. As Arctic sea ice vanishes due to warming waters, the entire ecosystem is being upended. The tiny, shrimp-like amphipods the whales scoop from the seafloor are disappearing. The whales arrive at their destination after an epic journey, only to find the cupboards are bare. They are starving to death. A thriving population undone in just 10 years. Think about that for a moment. A 50% collapse of a species we thought we had saved. It's a shocking turnaround that shows just how fragile these recoveries are. If you find this story as alarming as I do, please take a moment to hit the like button to help spread this crucial information. This brings us to the elephant in the room, climate change. The gray whale's diving numbers are a blaring siren, warning us that climate change alone makes gutting the Marine Mammal Act an act of pure madness. The threats are no longer just harpoons and fishing nets. They are systemic and planetary. It's not just warming waters. The ocean has absorbed so much carbon dioxide from the atmosphere that it is becoming more acidic. This ocean acidification makes it difficult for creatures like plankton, corals, and shellfish to build their protective shells. This is catastrophic because these tiny organisms form the very base of the entire ocean food web. When they suffer, everything suffers, from the smallest fish to the largest whale. And we see the effects everywhere. Widespread marine heat waves are turning vibrant underwater ecosystems into barren landscapes. Kelp forests, those vital coastal habitats, are vanishing. In California, the loss of sea otters, another protected marine mammal, has allowed their prey, sea urchins, to explode in number. These urchins then graze down the kelp forests, creating vast underwater deserts known as urchin barrens, destroying habitat for countless species. Off the coasts of California and, for the first time ever, Alaska, toxic algal blooms, supercharged by warmer waters and nutrient pollution, are poisoning the food web, leading to the deaths of thousands of dolphins and sea lions. The argument that we need to roll back protections to make way for more oil and gas exploration, the very industry driving this climate crisis, is not just wrong, it's a cruel irony. It's like trying to put out a fire by dousing it with gasoline. What the architects of this death sentence legislation fail or refuse to recognize is that the health of these marine mammals is not a separate, isolated issue. They are indicator species. Their bodies, their populations, their survival are a direct reflection of the health of the entire ocean system. A thriving pod of dolphins means a healthy fish population. A successful whale migration indicates a productive food web. Their decline is the ocean's silent scream, a warning that the life support systems we all depend on are beginning to fail. We are not separate from this. The health of the ocean dictates our weather, produces much of the oxygen we breathe, and provides food for billions of people. The collapse of these ecosystems has direct consequences for our economies, our food security, and our survival. This time, the fight to save the whales isn't just a nostalgic campaign driven by sentiment. It's an urgent battle for our own future. We are all part of this intricate web of life, and the threads are beginning to snap. If you want to continue exploring the critical issues facing our planet, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our future investigations. Because this time, saving the whales is truly about saving